What happened? I need to know what actually happened to PlayStation to fall this far from grace. You know what? I'm not even mad. I'm disappointed. Yeah, I had to hit him with the dad on that one. Clearly, this was an actual trash fire. Watching PlayStation parade around the state of play, hyping it up across socials for the last few weeks, even going so far as to saying they're going to be showing it at an actual movie theater, the Alamo Drafthouse. They even made specialty cocktails, foods, and drinks for you to actually enjoy while you were there watching this state of play. And what happened? A whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of this could have been an email. And a whole lot of, oh, I've already seen this already. Good job, PlayStation. Way to go. Look, I'm gonna be real about this. I am old enough to know what PlayStation used to be. I had the PlayStation 1. I grew up with it when it was first released. I had a PlayStation 2 and a massive library. Hell, I still have that library in my closet right behind me. And I even have a PlayStation 3, especially after that price drop. The problem is, though, I think once that generation hit with the PS3 to now, everything has been on a singular rail. Practically every game that they put out now has to be a third-person, millennial written, by the way, action-adventure game with stealth elements and literally nothing more than QTE slop being paraded in front of you, and people eat it up because the graphics are pretty. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. After what I saw yesterday and all the rumors going around the PlayStation pulling the games away from PC, I got one thing to say. Take them. No, seriously, just take them. Get them out of here. I feel like Insomniac is becoming nothing more than a one-trick pony. That's a good pun. Don't let it pass you by. And then everything else that we saw on that actual showcase was nothing more than a third-party game being published on either other platforms like Xbox or also being on PC as well, basically proving what we reported on a few weeks back, where PlayStation even admitted that if it wasn't for third-party, their console would be a box with 0 games. It's actually absurd what's going on right now and what PlayStation is in fact trying to do. But I think the insane part about this isn't just the fact that what we saw yesterday honestly proves that PlayStation is in fact creatively bankrupt. What I think what we found out yesterday as well also shows that PlayStation is not doing as good as everybody thinks. Because according to Insider Gaming saying this, PlayStation's first-party sales collapse paints a picture of concern. Look, let's be real about this. Everyone's been saying it for a very long time. All these first-party tentpole titles that fanboys love to parade around in front of you as if it's the bee's knees and the only reason to buy a PS5, well, clearly, people aren't buying them, as everybody's been pointing out basically every single month that we see on Circana sales track records. All we see instead are every single major on-live service game that's been paraded around since the beginning. Your Maddens, your FIFAs, your 2Ks, your GTAs, your Marvel Rivals, and everything else that comes across the board on that. Back then, what we used to see was incredibly different. Massive AAA games topping the sales charts all the time. Look at the 360, look at PS3, hell, look at PS2, and all the games that sold during that era, even when gaming wasn't as big as it is today. What we see now instead is PlayStation literally going around and trying to force their games into the most lowest common denominator of value for every person to enjoy as a piece of slop. Never forget that PlayStation literally used DSP, the Dark Side Phil, as a barometer in how to teach people how to play video games. You could honestly say that PlayStation's own games are now basically catered to people who don't play games at all. And I think the more ridiculous part about this is the fact that PlayStation gamers somehow believe they are above others because of the games they play, even though you could literally point to and say, that's a QTE, that's an in-game cutscene, there's no gameplay here, what even the f is happening? Or how about Conan O'Brien saying, we haven't touched the controller in about 45 minutes? And here's my problem with the whole thing. I think PlayStation has gone way too far into the deep end. They no longer know or care or want to make all those weird games we used to have back in the 90s and 2000s by that company. Not to mention the fact they've also closed down multiple studios that made those weird games. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Make PlayStation weird again. And that's exactly what they need. You know what would have popped off in today's show? SOCOM. Simple as that. You want a live service game? You want to bring back people to your platform that left before, that grew up with you? SOCOM. You want to get even weirder with all of that? How about another Sly Cooper? How about bringing back Ape Escape? How about all those weird little IPs and all those weird little games that you could make, honestly, really good AA titles to fill in those specific gaps and constantly put out content instead of putting out a video game every 5 to 6 years, having the exact same tropes and being 5 to 6 years behind all the other games as well. But hey, that's just my perspective on the whole thing. Let's see what the article had to say, though, and go from there. With the article saying this, in a recent data deep dive, it was explained that between fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2024, PlayStation's first-party software sales plummeted by 30 million copies. The sales figures peaked around 2020, with the label securing a whopping 58.4 million first-party sales within 12 months. By fiscal year 2024, that figure collapsed, falling to around 29 million, hampered by a poor release slate and massively underperforming games like Concord. It's relatively easy to explain some of these numbers, but with PlayStation's next State of Play arriving later today, folks are wondering what else the Titan has in the bank. Do you want to know what the Titan of PlayStation had in the bank? Wolverine and a God of War spin-off game. And even though Wolverine does look good, it's very gory, which I truly like to see. I'm definitely not spending $650 on a console for one video game. And you can bet your sweet bippy, the one thing I didn't see in yesterday's entire State of Play was this, only on PlayStation. Instead, I saw coming to PS5. Now look, like I said before, I can guarantee you PlayStation is in fact incredibly petty, and they are petty enough to pull their games off of the PC platform. But it's really interesting to see how all of this messaging we were supposed to see by now about them pulling away from PC and having true exclusives still hasn't manifested yet. And the big problem is that the majority of that State of Play yesterday was in fact mostly third-party games that we've already seen before. Nothing there was incredibly new, except maybe I think Stuntman probably. And the majority of those titles were also third-party games going on multiple platforms, either going on to Xbox, which by the way, if they were going to be on Xbox, the logo should have been there, PlayStation, or going to Steam, which by the way, if it was going to PC, the logo should have been there too, PlayStation. But in my opinion, the real problem is in fact this. I feel like PlayStation itself is creatively bankrupt. They literally bookended the entire State of Play. Give them Wolverine for 10 minutes, give them God of War for 20 minutes, and then everything else in between they already know or is a third-party game that they tried to money hat or is going to a different platform. And that's exactly what PlayStation has been for the longest time. We don't have a PlayStation anymore that truly puts out their own titles. Why? Because they shut down the studios that made those titles. And I think what's also indicative as well is the fact that during the 2020s, when everybody was locked inside for about 3 years, that's when you saw all the massive spikes in game sales. And the problem is, game companies didn't see this as an actual blip or as an anomaly. They saw this as the actual consistent mark that companies have to reach every single time. And clearly, it's not working, no matter how often they use DSP as a barometer. With the article continuing by saying this, in a study published by GameFile Stephen Totillo, the last 6 years of financial data were collated and represented in a neat graph showcasing PlayStation's first-party performance of late. Here's a snapshot of the high-level figures. Fiscal year 2018, 54 million sales. 2019, 49 million sales. 2020, 58 million. 2021, 43. 2022, 43. 2023, 39. 2024, 28.9 million sales, a massive decrease of 11 million, and fiscal year 2025, 32.1 million sales. It really goes to show that these companies do not understand their own markets, their own consumers, or where they actually fit in this space. And going back to the well too many times can honestly prove to so many people that get that feeling of, I kind of already played this, or I guess that looks cool, or It could have been better. I don't know. I mean, if you want to see how meh everything really came about, look at this totally accurate, scientifically backed, data-proven Twitter poll that Destilligary made yesterday. If you couldn't tell, that was sarcasm, by the way. Twitter polls aren't scientific or data accurate. I had to say that because people will think I'm being serious when I say that, even though it's not. It was sarcasm! With Destilligary tweeting this: how would you rate the PlayStation State of Play? 15% said A, 29.7% said B, 25.6% C, 29% said D or lower. I'm gonna be real, the entire thing could have been an email. The Wolverine trailer could have been its own video on YouTube. The Freya announcement could have just, I don't know, not happened. How about that? How about them apples, right? But I'm also the kind of person who never liked God of War 2018 at all, and I feel like God of War 2 and 3 were the best ones of the entire series. Also, the PSP games completely blow out of the water a lot of other games as well. Do not skip the PSP ones. They're actually fantastic. Now, there are people who did like the showcase, either because they're hyped for Wolverine or anything else, and that's perfectly fine. Wolverine looks like a fun game. However, though, like I said before, Insomniac is starting to feel like a one-trick pony. And let's put things into perspective. If Insomniac wasn't part of PlayStation right now, what would your PS5 even have? Oof. Kind of crazy when you think about it. These state of plays, these showcases, all these things, we are literally missing that spark of E3, where these companies would go up on stage and show you something you've never seen before, something they've been working on for the past couple of years that nobody knew about, a brand new trailer of a game that is not just millennial writing slop, just like we saw with Metroid Prime 4, just like we saw with the new God of War game, just like we saw with every other game coming out right now that is written by millennials. And you know what? As an elder emo millennial myself, I can say this: stop writing every video game as if you're writing for a character in the Avengers movies. Nobody talks to themselves like that. That's number one. And number two, I don't need a joke every 30 seconds. It's all right. You'll be fine. But you know what? Let's go ahead and see what actually was showed yesterday and find out what PlayStation can in fact do to be better. If you haven't followed him already, I suggest you do so. Hazardor Gaming on Twitter did an entire breakdown of all the games being announced. Here was the actual tweet thread. We saw the state of play for PlayStation 2026, Marvel's Wolverine, September 15th. Now again, I think it does look pretty good, very gory, very nice, but I think there's things missing on it. I think there's like an edge, pardon the pun, or something else that really could be a lot more indicative of what Wolverine could be. And I really feel like what they should have harkened back to is what the Wolverine movie game was on the 360. That, I think, would have been very cool. Then you've got Rayman Legends, literally exactly what I'm talking about. That game looked amazing. As a 2D side-scroller, it looked so good. The only problem is, it's Ubisoft, and you know they're gonna fuck it up somehow. But hey, at least Rayman looked fantastic in my opinion. Kamuri? Don't really care. Marvel Tokon Fighters? Not really big into fighting games right now, but I definitely want to get into them later as well. Then you had Tomb Raider Legacy, The Lost Wild, Phantom Blade Zero, and Dune Awakening. Dune really didn't hit me at all whatsoever, even though I think it's out right now in early access on PC. I could be wrong about that though. Lost Wild looked interesting, I guess. Tomb Raider actually looked pretty good, and Phantom Blade Zero is a multi-plat game going on PC, but also that looks kind of pretty good as well. But hey, we could see some frame rate problems with that game too. We've already noticed that happening before, so we'll see how that turns out. Then you've got Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition. You've got No Rest for the Wicked. Stop right here. If you haven't played No Rest for the Wicked, you should definitely play it. If you're too scared of Path of Exile, if you want something a little bit more Souls-like, this is going to be more up your alley. It's not a full-on ARPG like what I'm normally playing and used to, but from the little bit that I have played, it's definitely something that people who are a little bit tepid in the space would definitely get into. Check it out if you haven't, by the way. Onimusha, Way of the Sword. Capcom is literally killing it in this space, and we'll talk about them later as well. And Silent Hill Townfall. You then got Ace Combat 8, Stuntman Hollywood, Ill, and Control Resonant again, by the way. Yeah, this is like the third time now we've seen this game. We get it. You're making another Control game. Nice job. And now we have Marathon having an update to it, which is really interesting after everything that happened with Destiny. So that's going to be fun to see. We've got RuneScape Dragon Wilds. We've got Onimusha Dawn of Dreams and more. And also Until Dawn 2. Didn't they close down the studio that was making Until Dawn? How are they doing an Until Dawn 2 when they closed the studio down? Didn't they? I'm sure they did, right? I'm not crazy, am I? Why would they make a 2 when they shut the... Okay. Decisions were made. And then finally we've got God of War Luffy? I don't know. It's not Kratos. It's not God of War. It's his wife from God of War, and it just did not do anything for me at all whatsoever. But here's the thing, though. I think the best part about this state of play wasn't what was shown, but instead were the reactions. Radic on Twitter said this, not gonna lie, I do think with how Sony was hyping up this state of play, airing it in theaters, having a countdown timer on the website, I was expecting a lot more. Some great games were shown, but I can't help feel a tad bit disappointed. And Jax Films on Twitter said this, focus, Faye. All right, that Jax Films one was actually really good, and it did feel like that modern AAA Focus M meme that we've all seen around happening. And I really want to go back to what's happening with PlayStation and also what happened in the state of play, and basically why I feel like the gaming industry itself has no idea what's in fact happening. In my opinion, though, I feel like only one company has figured out what gamers actually want, and that's Capcom. Love them or hate them, they are the ones right now carrying this gaming industry. Look at the titles they've put out recently, and the titles they're putting out also this year as well. Between Onimusha, between Pragmata, between Resident Evil 9. That's 3 games out of that one publishing studio right now, and 2 of them are basically considered Game of the Year contenders. And they're both vastly different. They both provided different stories. They both played incredibly different as well. Even though they both were third-person action shooter games, they both did something different. Resident Evil 9 was horror-focused with Grace, and then action-focused with Leon, all at the same time, switching you between both of them, making you stressed out and then making you have fun. An actual fantastic way of providing good, engaging gameplay. Pragmata felt like DMC, but with combos and hacking instead, where you're too busy trying to figure out what's going on in the space around you while fighting a boss, at the same time trying to hack everything, creating combos with them, and then doing tons of damage overall. It felt like so completely refreshing and new, and something that people really haven't gotten used to, and I think that's exactly what's missing in this space. I think what PlayStation and even the gaming industry is missing is exactly what Capcom found. Their mojo. They saw what made them great. They saw what people liked out of them, and they said, you know what? We're going to double down on this. And I think PlayStation did the exact same thing during the PS3 and PS4 gen. That third-person cover-based adventure game with stealth elements that played more like a movie than an actual video game. I think the problem now, though, is that people are fickle, and they're getting tired of the same formula over and over, with no changes ever being done, with nothing new being brought into the mix, with nothing else of their back catalog being brought forward for people to in fact enjoy. We could bring back Killzone, SOCOM, Infamous, all those titles, Sly Cooper, Ape Escape, Rogue Galaxy, Legend of Dragoon. We've got so many genres right there with those 7 games. It would be stupid not to bring them back, and also not to bring them up in new ways of playing them for people to in fact enjoy as actual surprises of games that people want to play again. What are we doing? What are we actually doing? PlayStation has the IPs. They have the studios. If they don't shut them down, by the way. They clearly have the talent to make games look good, but why is it that every time they put something out, it's always the same generic slop being fed over and over again? It's always the same garbage being peddled to you again, as if it's something brand new. And then to have the audacity and the gall to say we're not putting games on the PC anymore because we want to have exclusives, true exclusives. Well, you know what? If those are the games you're making, I'm not even going to buy your console for them. I'm not even going to buy them on PC if you put them there. You're literally wasting your time, not by where you put the games, but by the games that you're making right now. And I think that's the real problem with PlayStation. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Do you think PlayStation is in fact creatively bankrupt? Do you think they really are going to pull their games away from PC? Or do you think this is all just something that they had to deal with? And clearly, things aren't going well. I want to hear what you got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here's the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With Dennis Z6E saying this: gaming industries hire more lawyers than game developers just to outsue the competition. Dennis, I think you're 100% right on the money with this one. We have seen the gaming industry itself do far more damage to each other than they actually turned around and make some video games. That is actually absurd. But as always, if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't even sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted with text-to-speech. It's actually insane. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. Oh, hey, do you want even more of me, though? Check out @OhNoIt'sAlexGaming. Link to that channel in the description down below. We just crossed 10K subs on that channel, so I want to say thank you guys very much. But new videos go up every single Monday about the gaming industry as well, or other topics that I think are pretty cool. And I stream there daily on top of it. Every day, Monday to Friday, 10:15 a.m. to about 2 p.m. We're playing Lego Batman right now, and then moving on to 007. Come on down and hang out with the best community on YouTube. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!